I had walked into that promotion meeting with more excitement than nerves. For months, I had worked late nights, carried extra responsibilities, and picked up projects others had abandoned. Every signal, every quiet comment from colleagues pointed toward me as the clear choice. And in truth, I believed it. I believed I'd earned it. So when the meeting began, I smiled, unable to hide my anticipation. I even joked lightly, "I'm excited for my raise." My words hung in the air, not meant as arrogance, but as relief. A small celebration for the work I thought was about to be recognized. Then she laughed. "My wife, my boss. What raise?" she said, her tone playful to everyone else, but cutting straight through me. "I gave it to Mark." The room chuckled lightly, assuming it was some harmless teasing. But then HR slid the paperwork across the table. My name wasn't there, not even as a candidate, and in that moment my world tilted. I blinked, trying to process. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't some misstep or miscommunication. She hadn't just overlooked me, she had erased me from consideration altogether. Mark leaned back in his chair, that smug smile spreading across his face. "Oops," he said, almost gleeful, as if my humiliation was a private joke between them. My chest tightened, my ears rang, and I felt every eye in that room glance between us, searching for cracks in the facade of our marriage that had suddenly become public. When the meeting ended, the applause for Mark still echoing, I sat in stunned silence. My wife avoided my gaze, gathering her papers as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened. I wanted to believe there was a reason, some explanation waiting at home. But deep down I already knew this wasn't just about business. It was about betrayal, layered and quiet, woven through both our personal and professional lives. At home that night, I confronted her. "Why?" I asked. Just one word. But it carried everything. The disbelief, the hurt, the fracture that had split me open in that conference room. She shrugged, her tone cold. "You're not the right fit. You take things too personally." Too personally, as though giving the promotion to Mark, her trusted colleague, the man who lingered too long in her office, whose texts came late at night with excuses of work questions, wasn't personal. As though deliberately removing me from consideration wasn't a calculated decision. I began noticing things I had brushed off before. The way she laughed at his jokes louder than she ever did at mine. The way she mentioned him casually in conversation. Her eyes lighting up with a kind of admiration I hadn't seen directed at me in years. The late nights at the office, explained with vague excuses about deadlines, while my dinners grew cold and untouched. The betrayal deepened not just because she gave him the promotion, but because of what it symbolized. She hadn't simply chosen him over me in the office. She had chosen him over me in our marriage. The raise, the recognition, the title, those were the surface. Beneath it all was loyalty redirected, intimacy shifted, trust shattered. I replayed the meeting in my head endlessly. My own words, "I'm excited for my raise," mocked me in hindsight, like a fool walking into his own execution. The chuckle she gave, the smirk on Mark's face, the paperwork proving my exclusion. They replayed at night when I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering when I had stopped being her partner and started being her burden. I stopped seeing her as my wife. She had become my judge, my executioner, and his advocate all in one. And every time I saw them together, her leaning in to whisper something only he could hear, him looking at me with that victorious smile, I felt the ground beneath me crumble a little more. There's a unique kind of loneliness that comes from betrayal within both love and work. It wasn't just my marriage unraveling. It was my career, my self-worth, my identity. I had tied so much of who I was to her, to us, to the idea that we were building a future together. And with a few words in a promotion meeting, she showed me just how easily I could be discarded. People think cheating is only about bodies, about hotel rooms and late-night messages. But the deepest form of cheating is betrayal of loyalty, when the one person who promised to stand beside you uses their power to push you down, to lift someone else higher. That night, I realized I wasn't just fighting for a raise I'd never get. I was fighting for a marriage that no longer existed. And as I sat there alone in the house we had bought together, while she stayed late at the office again, I understood something bitter and unshakable. Sometimes the cruelest betrayal doesn't happen behind closed doors in secret. Sometimes it happens in front of everyone, in a conference room filled with applause, while the person you love most laughs at your expense.